This video is sponsored by dbrand. So I've just spent the last 24 hours with the iPhone 17 Pro Max and I want to talk about it. See, as someone who's inherently an Android user, I wasn't even going to pick this phone up, but there's genuinely a lot of really cool stuff that Apple's done this year, and it really caught my attention. The new selfie camera is actually very good, and it's a lot more practical. The new camera setup on the rear is so much more versatile. This thing can even shoot in ProRes RAW. But the changes don't just stop at camera improvements. It has a much brighter display with an anti-reflective coating. The phone finally has a vapor chamber, which allows it to dissipate heat better. There's 12 gigs of RAM with the A19 Pro, and it has a larger 5088 mAh battery, so long as you have an eSIM only model. There's a lot more that I've noticed just right off the bat that I kind of want to dive into. I will be saving my full look at this device for a full review. So let this video just be sort of like an impressions after my first 24 hours with this device. But before we get into it, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. We are getting closer to 100K as the days go on, and I just can't thank you all enough. Anyways though, I decided to go with the silver iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now I actually pre-ordered the orange one, and after having them both in the hand, I think the cosmic orange is nice, but for any long-term usage, I'm not really a fan. Actually, since the iPhone is now made up of aluminum, it's much more susceptible to drops and real damage. And Siobhan actually obliterated his orange iPhone, and you could see underneath it's silver. So when it comes to long-term use and wear and tear, I think the silver will show less scuffs and scratches over time, or at least it won't be as visible on this one. Now immediately though, the phone felt very comfortable to hold in the hand. Even though it's 6 grams heavier than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and it's even slightly thicker, it feels way better. And hear me out. The edges being curved make it sit in your hand nicely, and the way that it's rounded just make the phone feel thinner. It doesn't dig into your palms, and the transition from the aluminum frame to this glass panel is really smooth. There's not a single sharp edge on this device, and I actually appreciate that a lot from a design perspective. And because it's balanced insanely well and it's not top heavy, you can actually hold the phone by one finger just in the middle of the device like this. And it doesn't feel awkward to hold. And honestly, this is the most comfortable iPhone that I've used in a while, despite this being the gargantuan Pro Max model. Now, like I said, I do have concerns about the durability on this phone. This is probably going to be one of the weaker iPhones that we've had in recent years, purely because of the switch back to aluminum. But this is a trade-off that I'm willing to make because this isn't a glass sandwich, and the fact that aluminum is just better at transferring heat, you feel that difference with the 17 Pro Max immediately. It has a better stability score and benchmarks than the previous iPhones, and rather than the heat being isolated to where the chip is located, you feel the entire phone getting warmer when it's actually under load, which is a good thing. It's spreading the heat across the entire device, and that's being helped by the fact that there's a vapor chamber inside of here. Gaming on this thing is obviously a non-issue. I've been playing the new Destiny game that dropped on mobile, and it's actually been a really good experience. Now, I'll talk more about this when it comes to the performance and gaming and stuff like that in a full review, but I just wanted to let you know right off the bat that I don't have any issues with things like thermal throttling, which is something that became apparent immediately with the S25 Ultra. Now, one thing about this phone though is I would highly recommend getting a solid case since you have a massive camera plateau now. I hate that name, and the fact that there's an aluminum body. Now, that's where dbrand comes in. And for the iPhone 17 Pro Max, they have quite a lot, and there's actually a little deal that you can get if you just stick to the end of this. But this is the dbrand Ghost case, and it's hands down my favorite clear case. It's essentially a zero yellowing, super scratch resistant lightweight case, but it doesn't sacrifice anything. It feels good in the hands thanks to those rubber edges. It has super strong magnets for your MagSafe accessories, and those raised bumps have saved my ass so many times from nasty falls. The new tank case is also nuts. I mean, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I like how unique it is. It's a very rigid feeling, rugged case with a very tactile look, and despite the back being contoured, it actually still works very well with MagSafe accessories. In fact, even this has ridiculously strong magnets, but those contours fit your fingers nicely to make this rugged case feel a little bit more slim in the hand. And if you're someone that likes a more heavy-duty protective case, but you hate the bulk that comes along with it, this is a solid option. You could even change the color of the side buttons, which I think is super cool, and I like like that on both of these cases, the aluminum camera plateau is still protected. Their best accessory though is their Prism 2.0 screen protector, hands down. I mean, this is the easiest screen protector that I've ever applied. They literally call it idiot proof. You could just wipe your screen with the alcohol pad that comes included, hit it with a microfiber, drop the applicator on, and pull the tab. It's a no bubble, no dust solution, and it's actually really genius. They're also very high quality screen protectors as well, and the Prism comes with 2 protectors already attached to an applicator, so you can't mess it up. Now, by using the link in the video description, you can actually get 42% off of the Prism by bundling it with a tank case, a ghost case, or even their grip case, which is nice if you like adding some more personality to your phone with skins. Thank you, dbrand, for sponsoring this video. Anyways though, I want to rapid fire a couple of things here that I've actually really liked so far. The display is incredible. I mean, it's very bright at 3000 nits now, and it should be much more durable with ceramic shield too, but it even has a new slightly anti-reflective coating, which does help quite a bit to bring down some reflections from the outside. Now, I will say it's not the best anti-reflective coating. The S25 Ultras was definitely better, but I'm happy to see this actually come to an iPhone because not a lot of phones have anti-reflective coatings, and it does make a big difference when it comes to that daily usage. Also, the screen to body ratio, as someone that just came from dailying the Pixel 10 Pro XL, it's insane. The bezels are tiny and it makes it look like you're interacting with just the display. It's also really sharp at 460 pixels per inch, and it's a really nice looking OLED panel, and the colors aren't oversaturated by any means. It looks really good for content consumption, and the speakers in here help a lot with that because they are loud. Though, I actually don't think the speakers on this phone are better this year. I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that it's using aluminum and there's just not like much in the way when it comes to that resonance or giving it like a deeper response. Voice crack. What I mean by that is this phone at higher volumes sounds a lot more tinny than last year. That being said though, from what I remember, this is way louder than it ever was last year. So take that as you wish. I personally don't listen to my phone at max volume. On this phone, it's way too loud to do that anyway. So when it comes to the actual speaker quality, I think it is good and it is loud, and I think most people are gonna have a fantastic experience with it. I just wouldn't say it's like better than last year. Now, I'm also a huge fan of iOS 26 and how it looks on this iPhone. I do use a Mac and an iPad for my work, and I've been running them on the beta, but this is the first time that I feel like the iPhone's really taking a step to bring personality to iOS. Liquid glass and this entire design language is something that I actually am a huge fan of. The fact that there's a ton of ways in which I could change my icons and get the look that I really want out of my home screen is something that I love. And even the Messages app now feels a lot more personal with those custom backgrounds, and I just like how it fills the screen. I also like the lock screen a lot and how it handles widgets, and I think this is the first time that on iOS, the iPhone has really pulled me in. I also like the camera app redesign as well. It's really simple, but it doesn't interfere with you accessing some of those more pro level features. Everything is just where you'd expect it, and it looks really clean. Now, there's a lot going on with the cameras, and obviously in 24 hours, I haven't really been able to dive too deep into it, but I do have a couple of things that I do want to say. This is the new selfie camera, and it's actually a lot better to film yourself with because you can actually just hold it out in portrait mode and still get like a 16:9 video, and it's much better because for one, it's way more comfortable to hold, but I'm also staring at the center of the phone instead of like looking off to the side. Now, if I was to vlog, I would probably still just use the ultra wide at 48 megapixels, but to be honest, I really don't think the difference in quality is that big this year. I think both these lenses are a solid option if you did want to shoot videos, and it's nice because all of these have that added benefit of being able to do ProRes RAW in log, and what's nice about that is you're not really limited to what you want to use on the phone, and it doesn't hinder your creativity at all. And just in case you're curious, this is what it looks like to use that one-time sensor on the camera. I really do feel like out of all of these lenses, this is going to give you the highest quality, but at the end of the day, now it just comes down to a personal preference. Do you want a wider shot? Do you want your phone to be easier to hold? Do you want to see what you're being able to shoot? I feel like if I was to use this phone for videos, I'd probably find myself using that selfie camera quite a lot more now. Now, granted, these ProRes RAW video files are massive, but the difference that it makes to the image is actually noticeable. And of course, because this is log, I'm able to change the lookup and match it to my camera the best way that I can, which means that this iPhone could easily be a main camera or a B camera if you're making content. It's actually really nice to have such a powerful tool in your pocket to just get a quick shot and be able to rely on it and know that it's going to be good. And when it comes to the camera, I'll throw up some examples, and like I said, I'll definitely go into more detail in a full review. But rather than a 5x telephoto, the iPhone 17 Pro Max now uses a 4x telephoto with a 2x crop that sort of turns it into like a semi-native 8x. I mean, however Apple is getting there, it doesn't really matter to me as long as the output is good, and it is. There's a lot of detail in these images, and typically I'm not a fan of colors that come out of the iPhone because it could feel a little bit lifeless, even though it is technically more accurate and natural. So I've just went ahead and changed the photographic style to get the look that I want, and I think it looks really clean. It's nice, it's punchier, it's vibrant, it reminds me a lot more of something like a Pixel, and that has been my go-to for stills. But I'm a huge fan of what Apple's been doing. Like even the 40x zoom, it's not something that I think I'd ever use, but it isn't doing any of that weird AI upscaling shenanigans, and you could easily get a pretty decent result. I like knowing that the image that I'm taking on the phone is real and that it's not just making something up on device. So that's something that I actually do appreciate that Apple is doing, rather than just making these 40x images, you know, super over processed with AI. To touch on the battery quickly, obviously I can't give like full numbers right now. I haven't had this phone for as long as some other people have had it. I got it yesterday. But the battery has actually been fantastic. I do want to wait to give you real numbers, but usually with some phones like day 1, day 2, I have like a lot of battery anxiety with them because it's doing all of that processing in the background to figure out how to make it last for me and my usage. This is not that. This just works, and it's been working really well. But if you have any questions about the iPhone and what you want to see me cover or touch on specifically that I can get to, whether it's in a comment or in my video, just go ahead and feel free to drop them down below because I'm open to hearing about what you guys have to ask about it. Anyways, I'm gonna daily this thing for a little bit, see how it holds up, and yeah, find what I like and what I don't like, and I guess I'll come back to it pretty soon. So if that's something that you want to stay here for, a like and a sub to the channel goes a long way. Though I'm quite surprised at how much I've been enjoying the 17 Pro Max, even though it's only been 24 hours. With that being said though, if you stay to the end, dropping a turtle emoji in the comments down below helps me out a ton. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.